So I have gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, which basically means I have chronic heartburn. Because of that, I've been suggested to chew some gum. Now, being dyspraxic and growing up dyspraxic, I've always had trouble with chewing gum, especially when it came to talking while chewing gum. So, to kind of help drive that point home, I am going to have this piece of gum in my mouth throughout this video, and we'll see how it turns out. This may seem confusing to some of you who have been watching the channel for a long time, or those of you watching who know me personally, because you do know that I do consume smokeless tobacco in a form of dip. But if anything, I think this is what best highlights how dyspraxia affects the eating process. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm having major difficulty just trying to chew on this constantly. With dip, it just kind of sits in your mouth, and then you spit when your mouth gets full of saliva. With gum, you actually have to actively be chewing it, almost like chewing tobacco, which I don't do either. I just dip. Now, due to the way dyspraxia affects planning of movements, as well as just the ability of how much you can do at once, multitasking is kind of hard, which includes chewing gum and something like talking. But this is also the same with eating as well. My mom always likes to tell the story of how when I was a little kid, I used to wolf my food down all the time and not really take many human bites, per se. Human bites. I would just take a huge chunk out of something and swallow it down. It used to freak her out. It used to freak everyone else in the family out because I was this little 3-4-year-old shoveling food down my face at like 100 miles per hour. But a large reason for this is because the planning of movements and the delay and all the issue that comes with dyspraxia, it makes it hard to multitask even simple things that seem kind of mundane, like breathing while eating through your nose. Two acts, both breathing and eating, take up so much space in the dyspraxic brain that it's hard to do at once, or it's hard to manage one while doing the other. Another common issue that I've brought up multiple times when talking about dyspraxia is how it affects gross motor and fine motor control, which is where eating starts to become a real issue when it comes to eating in public. You may notice I'm holding an eating utensil right now. This is a fork, of course. And how one of us would hold a fork is just kind of hard. Getting a solid grip thanks to the fine motor control. So because of this, we don't really hold eating utensils like most people do. And even if we watch somebody eat, it really doesn't give us any real point of reference. So many of us hold eating utensils weird, like, you know, they say hold it like a pencil, and this is how I always held pencils. But even then, most people will still say, oh, you're holding it wrong. So it gets really difficult when you're, say, eating in public at a restaurant or something, and then people are just kind of looking at you funny because you're holding your fork weirdly or using your fork weirdly. Cutting food, too, has just kind of become a struggle, and that's one of the hardest things about being a parent with dyspraxia as well, is cutting up food for your kid in front of other people. It just kind of looks weird. An honest tip, though, to keep in mind when you're at the restaurant, you're starting to feel anxiety because you think everyone's staring at the way you're holding your fork, is, well, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. Even if somebody is so distracted by the way you're holding your fork that it sticks in their brain, it's not going to stay there for very long. There's a lot worse things that happen in everybody's life than seeing somebody hold a fork wrong. So try not to be too self-conscious about it. Nobody's going to hold it against you. This is another big issue when it comes to dating with dyspraxia, and I really should have brought this up in the video as well, is when you're one-on-one with a person and you're looking at each other and everything, a lot of people tend to focus on how somebody eats. And these are the kind of people you don't want around you anyway. Simply put, if they're going to be so superficial, they're going to blame their whole judgment on you based on the way you hold a fork or the way you eat. Well, then clearly that's somebody who you don't want to be with anyway. It's okay to still be friends with said person or whatever if there's no bad blood over eating utensils, which, again, with how absurd this sounds, it really sounds like an overreach. But in today's society, kind of weird. I think that's one of the biggest things trying to hide my dyspraxia for so long has taught me, is that there's just some things you really can't hide or hold back when it comes to dyspraxia, no matter how cool you want to look. And if you're going to pursue a partner, it's important that they know what to expect of you to begin with. And if they're really going to be that superficial, they're really not somebody you want to be with anyway. Just saying, because if they're going to be spending a serious amount of time with you and they're going to be judging you that whole time, is that really the kind of person you want to be spending the rest of your life with? I was actually going to order some Chinese food and attempt to eat something with chopsticks as an attempt to prove a point. But, well, this is an issue for two reasons. One, I definitely don't have the money for Chinese food right now. And two, I know completely healthy people without dyspraxia who can't use chopsticks. Using chopsticks seems like a skill that's rather outdated these days anyway, unless you're really into anime. So, I mean, this whole video can just kind of come to a point, and at the end of the day, my only real tips are, I mean, don't talk while eating in general, even chewing gum. It's actually common table manners, but in today's society where everyone's on their phones even while they're eating, you know, just try not to talk while you're eating. You might choke. And that's not even a dyspraxia thing, that's just a general knowledge thing. But honestly, the biggest thing I want you guys to take away from this video is just that eating is something we all do, and we all do differently. Even people without dyspraxia tend to be self-conscious about the way they eat, because no one really looks pretty when they're eating. So honestly, if somebody's going to really take it to heart that badly or hold it against you that badly about the way that you eat, that's probably one of the most insignificant things you could really hold against a person. So don't worry about it. Seriously, let that person go and be petty somewhere else. You're fine, I can assure you. And you know, that's all for this video, everyone. Hope you guys have a good one. I know I haven't uploaded in a minute, at least a couple weeks. My upload schedule's getting real sparse lately, and a lot of that is just kind of life hitting me at once, all at once. So, you know, things are a little tough right now, but I'm gonna try to keep my videos at somewhat of a steady rate. But again, thanks for watching, everyone. You have a good one.